Hi guys, King John Lee here with a new series. This will be Piper's Cup of Nations adventure, and Piper got the Seleucids in this Cup of Nations, and his opponent here, M.fatihil of the Immortals of War clan, has the Gauls. So for those of you who don't know, in the Cup of Nations tournament, you are assigned a faction, and you have to play that faction through the entire tournament. And to even things out for the weaker factions, the creators of this tournament have made a money table. So basically, if your faction is at a disadvantage, you get a bit more money, or the faction you're playing against gets a bit of money deducted. So they attempt to balance things out with that kind of the Denarii thing, and the rules are CWB, of course. So we'll have a run through Piper's build here. He's got 6 archers, of course, very good in this matchup. Gold definitely. 2 peltists with no upgrades, probably just cheap money wasting units. Well, not money wasting, but he needed to spend probably the last 200 denarii or something, and so just got those 2. 3 companion cav, very good cav, gold. 2 scythe chariots, 2 cataphracts here, and another scythe. So 3 scythe chariots total, and 2 cataphracts, as well as the 3 companions. So we'll get the battle started now. And for Gaul, they've got 4 chosen swordsmen, which look to be silver bronze, I think, something like that. And a lot of 6 gold chosen swordsmen, 2 barbarian cav, I think 6 barbarian noble cav, and 2 forester warband. So before the battle even starts, just by looking at the factions, Gaul is primarily a rush faction, and you'll see this with Germania as well. They can't actually skirmish, and that's just because they don't have any regular archers, so they're relegated to these expensive archers, in this case the forester warband, which is unfortunate. Oh, and in this battle, Gaul has 19k denarii, while the Seleucids have 12.8k, so that's to balance it out. Yeah, so Gaul's now getting shot a little bit by these archers. So Piper knows this matchup very well. It's very easy to guess as well what the Gaulish player is going to attempt to do. So he's got all these archers here, and the peltis as well, I suspect, to essentially skirmish this guy out, skirmish Fatihil out, wear him down. And Fatihil has to chase these archers. So it's good for Fatihil that he's brought so many cav units, because you can chase a lot of these archers around. But the problem is that you can have as many cav units as you want, but when they're split up, they're quite weak individually. And with the Seleucids' very powerful heavy cav and the chariots, one of which has already run amok, but with all these very highly upgraded companion cav, cataphracts, and scythe chariots, it's going to be very dangerous for Fatihil to individually chase these archers off the map, which is what he wants to do. Because without the archers, because with the archers there, they're just going to shoot at these cav units, and really, the Gaulish player has to get rid of the archers, or his infantry will be useless. The infantry can't catch the archers, it can't catch the cav, and essentially they're only going to get shot while they stand around. And basically, when the Gaulish player gets rid of all the archers, it forces Piper to charge into the infantry, because that's kind of how CWB goes. Basically, you have to be trying to do something all the time. So once all the archers are dead, Piper will have no choice but to charge into these infantry units. And that's why Fatihil's bought so many. So he's got 6 infantry units here of these gold chosen swordsmen, in an attempt to really make his chances of lasting through the end game a lot better than they would be. Pike factions usually have a much better chance at doing the strategy where you take out all the archers and then box up, because the pikes are very good against cav, as you know, and boxing up is kind of a trademark pike faction thing. So that's great for them, but for Gauls without pikes, only these swords and shields and things, it's not as good. So the cav from Piper will still be very effective, even if Fatih boxes up. But first things first, you've got to get rid of the archers. It's very paramount to any rush strategy, because if you leave even 2 kind of healthy units of archers around, they can pretty much just destroy your whole strategy. And but these 2 Forester Warband will actually help in that. So even if kind of 2 or 3 archer units are left, these Forester Warbands could potentially skirmish the remainder off the out of into what's the word, until they don't matter anymore, essentially, until they're obsolete. So these 2 Forester Warband actually might be pretty useful in the late game, and I'm a fan actually here of Fatih just clumping all his infantry together with his archers, and then using this cav as one big fat group. Oh, this is very unfortunate for Fatih. These chariots that are running amok are going to kill a ton of his cav units. So yeah, general unit. This wasn't even controlled by Piper, and Fatih's units had been shredded to pieces just then, and that was a general unit as well. So already not looking too good for Fatih, but he's really got to just get the strategy right here. Target down these archer units individually with a big group of cav. If his cav is all in one big group, then it's going to be really hard for Piper to save his archers. Whereas if they just get sent out one-on-one, Piper could just engage with, you know, a cataphract and kill the cav units one at a time. But if they're all in one big group, Piper's cavalry will have a bit of a more difficult time. So a bit of indecisiveness from Fatih, probably caused by these cavalry movements here. So Fatih was chasing these archer units here originally, but then he saw a lot of cav units come out here from Piper, and obviously the companion cav and cataphracts are a lot better than the barbarian cavalry, but I still think Fatih should probably have gone for this lot here. I think getting these 3 archer units killed is very valuable. They're pretty close to the red line as well, so they might have actually just routed off the map if you manage to get them. And Piper has a total of 6, so if you kill 3, and then your remaining 2 Forester Warbands can shoot down the last 3 or even 2, then your infantry has actually like an okay chance. And then you're more worried about the cav in that case, but it's quite likely that you'll have engaged some of the cav already, and maybe the Foresters can shoot the cav a bit as well. But this is kind of the issue with Gaul. Their infantry sucks, and the Foresters are actually a detriment rather than a positive thing. So it's really hard to use Gaul if your opponent knows, especially if your opponent knows how to counter them. I think if your opponent doesn't really know what to do, then Gaul might win. It's like maybe, but if your opponent does know how Gaul is played, and it's not really that hard to figure out, then you're in for a very rough game. And you're seeing it here now, because Fatih just can't get any use out of these infantry units, and you see this with Germania as well. It's a very, you know, profound problem with these 2 factions. You know, their units look great on paper, because if you look at the numbers, the units actually don't look that bad, but in practice, they struggle a lot in CWB, especially because they just don't have the missiles. It's very unfortunate. But Piper here knows his game plan. His game plan is just to run around, try and stave off Fatih from catching his archers for as long as possible. Fatih's got 1 archer unit here, which is great. It looks like Piper's still got 5 left though, so only 1 down, still 5 to go. Bit unfortunate, and this might come back, so Fatih's going to cleverly leave a small unit here to kill them off while they run. But as you can see, a lot of Fatih's infantry units already reduced down to kind of almost nothing. These guys could very quickly get taken out, and looks like Fatih's going to keep going for the archers, which is great. But as you can see, Fatih's cav is now tiring, which is another issue with this strategy. Your people have to tire to make it work, and it doesn't always end well. So Companion Cav and Cataphract's going to catch one Cav unit out there. Not good for FfatihIL. FfatihIL, though, should keep chasing these guys, I think. I think it's actually very important that he kills these archers. But he's going to run back, try and regroup, but Piper's going to catch him out with these Companion Cav. The general routes, and that's probably the end for Gaul, because without the general, barbarian factions do struggle quite a bit with morale. And again, the infantry can't catch anything, so they're useless. And infantry are only useful if you can force your opponent to deal with them in CWB, and the only way you can do that is by killing the archers, and infantry doesn't help you at all to kill the archers. So yeah, as you can see, FfatihIL's forced to kind of run them around like a blob now, because again, if they're isolated, they'll die to archers, and in this blob though, they're gonna just get shot to pieces, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, this is how you have to play Gaul kind of anyway. I think even if you gave a different player a Gaul against any other faction, pretty much, you'd have to do the same strategy of run around, try and catch the archers, and if you don't catch all the archers, you die. Usually you don't catch all the archers, so you usually die, which is quite tragic. It's actually really hard to make a rush strategy work in CWB. I tried a rush strategy with like it was like Parthia against Numidia or something, and I was Parthia, and I tried this rush strategy. I thought it went really well because I actually killed a lot of the opponent's cav, but that was actually the wrong thing to try and kill. I got a really good cav engagement, killed a ton of his cav, and then he still had like 2 or 3 archers left over by the end of all the running around I did. And then all I had left was like cataphracts and camels, and he just shot me to bits and I died. And that was pretty sad. So yeah, it's even with other factions, it's tough to make rush strategies work. So especially with a faction like Gaul, or even Germania, but especially Gaul, it's super hard, because your cav's not even actually good. Your cav is just barbarian noble cav, so you're constantly scared of individual units getting picked off. Wouldn't be as bad if it was a companion cav or cataphracts even, because you know you can win on a head-on engagement, but with Gaul you can't win even with all your barbarian noble cav there, just because it's not a good unit. And yeah, so it's really unfortunate, but I don't see Gaul winning anymore because they have no cav left. And Piper's probably done a good job. I think he was targeting the cav with a lot of those arrows, and with the engagements as well. He was really looking at killing that cav, and without the cav you can't catch any of the archers, and that's the bottom line. So tough luck for Gaul. I think the foresters are mostly dead as well. So there's no counterplay to the archers anymore. It's just going to be FfatihIL blobbing up and going to soak a ton of these missiles, and that's going to be GG probably. Some barbarian noble cavalry still left here, but it's just one unit. Piper's going to have his eye on this. He's probably not going to let this just, you know, kill all his archers. And it is exhausted as well, so that's no good. And that's the thing, when you're chasing archers, you're focused on the archers, so the opponent's cav is actually kind of free to rest when he wants them to, because you're chasing the archer unit, you're not focusing on his cav. So your cav is going to tire faster than his. That's what we see here with FfatihIL, his exhausted cav here. Piper's cav is exhausted as well, but some of them are just tired. This one is exhausted, this one's very tired, so they're not as bad. But yeah, I find that usually the chaser's cav tires first because they're chasing the archers. And yeah, so Piper's gonna threaten FfatihIL away here, and FfatihIL, not much choice really but to try and push in with these infantry as well. But not going to end well, especially with the general dead. The morale of these guys is probably terrible at the moment. Got these units here as well. I could just charge in, get a rear charge in. Cataphract routing here, probably because it's exhausted. Also the companion cab router as well. So that's pretty good actually for FfatihIL. Good engagement there for FfatihIL, but it's still an uphill battle, I think. Because he's not in control of the game anymore. He's got no initiative. And Piper got rid of this guy. Well, he's getting rid of it now. So that's pretty much FfatihIL's last kind of hope. Dead if this thing dies. Because he needs something to chase the archers with. This archer unit is broken though. So this is a pretty fat unit as well. So FfatihIL's got to be pretty happy with that. How many archers are left? Is it just this one unit? Because FfatihIL might be able to do something if it's just this one unit. This unit is pretty damn fat though. It's 38 guys. Oh, but they've run out of ammo and they're exhausted. Alright, so they're probably not going to do much. But, and then... So that's one kind of hurdle jumped over by the Gauls. So FfatihIL's actually done a great job of killing all the archers. He's really targeted them down. And this last unit here has no arrows left, so that's great as well. But now comes a kind of second pitfall for Gaul, and that's you don't have any pikes. So your infantry might struggle a bit against all these cav units. And I'd say this is actually a bit of a premature charge from Piper here. Because his guys are still exhausted. I would have rested them up. I would have rested them up a lot more before I charged them in there. But it's worked out for him anyway. I guess when both guys are exhausted, the better unit just wins. And the general for FfatihIL is dead as well, so that he's got that going against him. Pretty unfortunate. This archer unit has rallied though. And again, problem with no cav, you can't chase router units, so fat units like that probably going to come back and bite you. So yeah, pretty convincing victory there from Piper, I'd say, actually. But I'd say it was an uphill climb from the battle for FfatihIL. Even with the huge Denarii advantage, I think it's 6.2k advantage for Gaul. Just goes to show you all the issues Gaul has, really. It's a very, very, very difficult faction to use well, and I think FfatihIL did quite well as well in his group stage, game. So props to him. Gaul's a very difficult faction to use, and I think he did pretty well in his group. So definitely kudos to him. But I'll see you guys in the next battle.